Everyone knows that Assassin's Creed Shadows is the greatest thing in human history. Critically acclaimed, loved by the players, on its way to sell 100 million copies by the end of the year, surely without a doubt. The shill YouTubers loved it. Fans are being created in the future in its name. It was a masterpiece. And, well, obviously none of that is true, and there are people who believe this, and their IQs do not exceed a banana hammock, sadly. And before you pause the video looking up what a banana hammock is, it's literally a small hammock for bananas. Yes, that exists, sadly. In any case, most people, thankfully, were smart enough to figure out that a black man completely rewriting and destroying the history of Japan and literally blackening the Nobunaga household name was probably not going to sell a lot of copies. Most people were sadly, no, well, not sadly, but thankfully smart enough to actually figure that out. And I'm not going to say anything bad about the people who did not figure this out and still think it's an absolute success. Godspeed, friends.
Ubisoft has been playing the manipulation game with Assassin's Creed Shadows. They've talked about how they've engaged 5 million players, but that's not sales. They haven't released sales figures, and in their recent earnings reports, they've talked about the Assassin's Creed franchise in general overperforming, but not this specific game. And on the heels of the terrible Attack on Titan crossover, they are now canceling their.
By the way, even the overperformance thing, as someone from finance, I can actually tell you how it probably is. And it is the fact that the previous Assassin's Creed games, Odyssey and Valhalla, did sell well, in fact. And that their overperformance, they're just pushing that to cover for the underperformance of Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's what they're doing. They're just taking the money, the sales, the everything they got from that, and using it to say, well, if we roll this over into the next year or two, we're still kind of actually on track. Which is a blatant statistical lie.
Future Shadows DLC expansions. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, Assassin's Creed Shadows just plain and simply wasn't the game that people wanted. We had asked for years for an AC game set in Japan. They had so much potential, so many cool stories and areas to show off, but
dude, even the dumbest, most bland, boring, but not woke Assassin's Creed, but Japan game should have sold literally billions. But no. No. Wokeness somehow made something that should have made billions into something that is struggling to make millions. And again, everything about Assassin's Creed Shadows is a lie that you hear online. Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, literally has officially stated that Assassin's Creed Shadows costed 116 million to make. Budget, total budget. Every expense, literally every expense. Marketing, game, everything. 116 million. If that is true, there would be 100 other studios already being formed because yeah, you can't lose money if you make one successful game, even if a AAA game costs only 116 million to make. It is such a blatant, obvious lie.
Instead, they decided to go with Yasuke, which of course was politically motivated. They did that for a specific reason, not because they actually thought he had the best story to tell, but because they said, oh my gosh, we can put a black lead in this game and we can actually promote diversity throughout this experience, which companies like Ubisoft don't really...
You know what I love? Pretty much everything but diversity. 10 out of 10.
Really care about entertainment value anymore. They care about
in my games, YouTube. That was a joke.
propaganda. That's probably why they've lost out on so much money from customers over the past couple of years, why they're really going under, and why they keep needing to be bailed out by Tencent. But at this point, one almost feels sorry for Assassin's Creed Shadows, the article says, and
I
its
don't.
seeming inability to score any sort of win, as not only did its recent Hail Mary passive Attack on Titan themed bonus content fail to deliver, but Ubisoft has
Wait, what? I haven't even heard about that. Jesus.
also canceled all of the game's future expansion level DLC, which isn't really shocking. We don't have the overall
Yeah. It's not shocking at all. Honestly, I was completely shocked that they even announced one DLC. In fact, let's actually check if Mommy Vet actually shows it. No, she does not. Okay, let me just find a thing for you, okay? I'm gonna open up a Steam DB, okay? Wait a minute. I will share the screen right now. Give your boy a second, okay? It is what it is, okay? See? This is Assassin's Creed Shadows on Steam. A whopping 76% positive user score, peak of 65k, and now it's down to, well, 3k, which is roughly 6.5% retention, which is amazing. And, well, somewhere on this graph, probably here was, I'm assuming it was here, because there's no other reason why it would actually go up. Maybe it was here. Maybe this was a free week. I'm not sure. But somewhere here, there's a DLC. I'm assuming it was here, or maybe it was here. I don't know. But it's kind of hard to tell where the hell the DLC is, because there's no bump. There is no visible bump. We have 4 distinct bumps here, 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 and for some reason there's an incline here. Where is the DLC? I have no idea. I have no idea why these bumps exist, but I know that they're shit. Okay? If you get this low of a bump, you're not making a DLC. Okay? Listen, this is Starfield levels of no one can't. Well, it's actually better than Starfield levels of no one can't. But you get the point. I have no idea. I'm assuming it's here, but I have no real idea. And it doesn't matter. No one played it. No one chose to play it. I remember seeing like 2 reviews by people who played the DLC, and one of them was Luke Steffens and the other was Joe Raptor. Okay? And we watched Luke's review and it was like, the boa staff is a staff and it's a weapon. No, seriously, why do people watch Luke? Like, Jesus Christ. I don't think I have ever seen a video but he actually gives any substantial or even useful information about anything. I do think he has a talent for ASMR, where he just yaps about things and gives zero information and he can be used as background. But damn, that's kind of still sad. Imagine you actually want to give a point and people are just dozing off to your content because they could not care less. Kind of sad.
player numbers. We do have the Steam ones. It looks really bad over there. Nobody's talking about this game anymore. Before it released and right after it released, it faced major
Bro, I'm like 70% of people who are still talking about this game.
controversy because of the story direction they went in and the historical inaccuracies. Ubisoft hasn't really helped themselves by saying microtransactions make single player experiences fun, and oh, we need you to swipe your credit card on MTX so we can continue to develop games.
Based.
And they recently refused to give updated sales numbers, which just screams that they are in the hole with this title. They don't know what to do, they didn't know how to save it, and now they're just dropping it like a rock. So, released on November 26th, the new Attack on Titan quest sees Yasuke and Noe, both of whom receive new costumes modeled after the Titan's exposed musculature and the Survey Corps military uniform, respectively, tasked with entering into the Crystal Cave, itself reminiscent.
Isn't it corp, not corpse? Where is she reading that?
Of the underground chapel where Eren Yeager meets his final fate, and investigating reports of a mysterious new bioexperiment that threatens the whole of Japan, which unsurprisingly
Bio experiment in which century? I'm sorry, which century are we talking about here? Can anyone remind me?
turns out to be a Titan. Unfortunately, that description is about as cool as the entire DLC gets, as the quest's very basic traversal sections ultimately culminate in the player having to run away from the Titan.
Oh, look at that. That's the Ubisoft quality of face I would expect.
Instead of actually getting to fight it before revealing that the aforementioned costumes, while freely available while doing the AOT missions, must be purchased separately for use in the main game. And to top all of that off, it seemed very rushed, very unpolished. The graphics were abysmal. It just didn't seem like they put a whole lot of thought into this. I personally think they made deals for crossover.
I personally think Ubisoft has tried their utmost hardest to make this game succeed. It's just the problem that there's not a single person with a single shred of single talent left in their whole goddamn useless company. Okay? Listen, I'll be brutally honest with you. If you're completely incapable, if you're completely inept and talentless, doesn't matter if you try harder than others, you're just gonna be trash. It is what it is, okay?
For something like X-Defiant, but because that died so quickly, they had to decide on what game to put crossovers in, and it just happened to be Assassin's Creed Shadows because it doesn't make sense really in any way, shape, or form otherwise. The hits don't stop there for Shadows, as though its previously released Claws of Awaji expansion was billed as the game's first. A November 26th interview with the noted video game content creator Jor Raptor saw the game's associate director break the news that said DLC would actually be its one and only of its size. Asked by his host,
Dude, people tell me, why do you watch shill channels? Bro, even I can't actually watch Jor Raptor. It's like, it is insane. It is insane.
As to whether that's still happening, a second DLC on the same level, he asserted so.
DSP probably has more, what's the word I'm looking for, integrity than Jor Raptor at this point.
With the caveat that anything can happen in the future because, as Mirage just proved, and as the crossover stories from Odyssey to Valhalla also proved before it, things could come up in the future, but as of this moment, for a year or two of Shadows, there is no expansion at the size of Awaji that is planned currently. However, the director made it clear that this development did not mean support for Shadows was coming to an end, explaining we're still working on content for post-launch and supporting it, but it's not a full-on DLC the way a season pass would have.
Look at this dude. He does not want to be here.
Had in the previous years, and whether or not this is the right way to go or good learning, I think it's more of an experience. We're trying with Shadows is to keep it things small and reactive and see how the community feels about it and reacts to it, and the learnings that come out of that.
If they cared about the community, they wouldn't have made Shadows in the first place, okay? Let's be real.
Will be applied to whatever other projects we do next, which is such a big fat excuse for, yeah, we don't have.
Wait, this is the typical AAA slop. It's gonna go down the drain pipeline move, okay? It's ridiculous. We have seen this so many times. Game is garbage, and only the most dedicated slop eaters are left. And those dedicated slop eaters are gonna literally love anything. Okay? If you're left playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, the reality is you're gonna enjoy anything that they put out, no matter how objectively sad and bad it is. You're just gonna eat it up. And these companies, when the game is dead, are like, okay, we're gonna listen to the player base. And the player base combined has maybe like 5 brain cells, and 2 of them are already dying and fighting for last place anyway. It is insane. Okay? And then they start listening to the fans. To the fans who can't even put butter on bread. And that's how we get the future of bad gaming, because it's like, oh, well, listen, our own ideas were garbage, but now we're listening to the fans, and it's kind of not working out, so no one knows what's actually supposed to happen. Pathetic. Listen to me, Ubisoft. Jesus Christ, I'm giving you consultations for free at this point.
The money or the ability to create major expansions for a game that did not sell. So we have to say, oh, we have more small content planned and other pieces of content that we will release eventually. But it really just boils down to the fact that they don't have the money because the game didn't meet their financial expectations. And this is where the manipulation really comes in. You can't trust companies, you can't trust journalists, you can't trust basically anybody in this
Not even
industry because this is just
yourself.
a big fat PR interview, because he wouldn't sit down and actually have an interview with somebody who would ask him legitimately tough questions. And with all of the failures that have surrounded this title, it's pretty hilarious to see this happen, because the media had previously, of course, tried to shill for this title and said, oh, it's doing so good, you guys are just racists and sexists
True.
and toxic. But clearly, we are getting bad piece of news after bad piece of news. And yes, this is a slap in the face for, I guess, the couple of fans that are out there that actually liked Assassin's Creed Shadows. I hate when companies drop games, but at the same time, they are not making the money that they expected, because Assassin's Creed Shadows is the lowest selling release across the last 5 entries, and yet it also had the highest budget, which is not a good look. We have seen a lot of images
Oh,
circulating
wow.
for this Attack on Titan crossover, quadruple A quality from Ubisoft. I mean, this looks horrendous. You would expect a game that has a couple hundred million budget to look good, and for them to want to actually release a crossover event that is not only going to appeal.
Dude, these crossover events because of Fortnite are honestly so good. Because shitty games now think, wait a minute, what if we just do a Simpsons crossover in our shitty game? Surely, paying the Simpsons licensing fees and probably still a portion of the profit made from every sale is gonna make us billions, and we'll resurrect the game. Surely this will work. And then you have this, and it fails spectacularly. You do have to appreciate this, because again, I don't think any of these companies are like, yeah, let's just take a proportion of the profits from the skin sales. Then a lot of them are probably like, no, how about a little bit of upfront payment? I'm sure this is gonna resurrect your Dread franchise, so a little bit of upfront payment is no problemo. Oh boy. And every failing game is trying to do that. I actually wanted to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds' newest attempt to actually make the game, get players back into it after they have lost literally 99% of their player base. And for Monster Hunter Wilds, that's actually, well, actually, no, was it 98.5%? In any case, it's barely a percent of players left. And they did collaboration with Dota 2. Yes, Monster Hunter Wild sits in Dota 2 in hopes of getting people to play the game and get interested. It's so unbelievably stupid.
To the fans you already have, but potentially sell more copies of your title. And I would be absolutely appalled if I worked at Ubisoft and on the Assassin's Creed team and this is what we shipped. It just is such a slap in the face to the fans that you already have and people that previously respected your company. Obviously, none of us should trust these companies. We should not trust the media. We should not trust people whose futures ride on the success of these companies, and it looks really bad for those people right now. I would start looking for another job, because if the big old Assassin's Creed game isn't going to be kept up for much longer and you're not making DLC, meaning it's probably not going to be updated for several years in the future, yeah, I would probably be panicking if I was any of these people. Just like the shareholders are panicking over the fact that Ubisoft has been losing money and losing money and losing money. And even though they have that big Vantage Studios creative house with Tencent, things are still not looking particularly positive for them. Am I surprised to hear that the future DLC expansions were canceled? Not at all whatsoever. But the one of the at least last big pieces of content we are getting for Shadows is this Attack on Titan crossover, which is so insulting. But that's all that I really have.
Well, most things these companies do nowadays are insulting, to be honest. Anyway, that was a very dark 10 out of 10. Bye!